Joining me in this very seat is my niece, Michelle Vargas. She's back to talk about oxys, Roxy's, cocaine. I mean, we're diving deep into her pill addiction. We talk about how it started, how she came out of it, and she shares something that shocked me. So you guys got to tune in because you'll be able to tell I literally almost fell out of my chair. It's going to be a good one. Grab your coffee and let's get into it. She is back in the hot seat because there's so much that we have not tapped into. And we are going to talk about some things here on Candidly with Coffee, but we're also going to be taking the conversation into Patreon for off topics. So that is going to get deeper and, unfiltered, uncensored. But I'm excited to have you back. How's it going? How's it going?
Pretty dang good.
What was the reaction, reception, feedback, etc. that you got from the last time we were together?
You know, it was actually really good. It made me feel great. I was super nervous because, social media can be ruthless.
I know.
Very ruthless.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised with, how many people related to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you kind of forget that you're not alone.
Yeah. That was interesting. I did have a lot of people reach out to me too that said like, wow, this was a great episode. Like it really resonated with them. So I thought that was cool. I always loved that. Because I know you were a little nervous and you shared a lot of stuff. My question is, and for those of you who don't know, Michelle was on a couple of months ago now, and we dove into your weight loss journey as well as some struggles that you have around alcohol. And some of that stuff, I'm assuming that your coworkers didn't know about you. People didn't know about you. Did you get any kind of backlash or weird situation with that?
No, it's one of those things where I'm not ashamed of it. I used to be.
Right.
But it makes you more human, right? So yes, I am a manager. I manage a team.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but the reception was great. Like people, sometimes you don't come like especially when you manage a team, like oh my God, manager, oh my God, you almost people like think that you're not
like
human.
Like it's kind of like when you're a kid and your teacher, you see your teacher in the store, you're like, what are you doing in the store?
Exactly.
Yes, I get it. I get what you're saying 100%.
So people, I even encouraged some of my coworkers to watch it because it's me.
Yeah.
I can't change that. Like I'm going to express my experience. I'm not that way anymore.
Well,
okay.
Or not when you're working and stuff like that.
Right.
Obviously you've been successful at your job, but I have to say, since I started interviewing people on the show, there's been a common theme with people that I sit down with. They end up kind of like sharing their traumas, and then their feedback to me is, wow, like that was extremely healing and therapeutic.
Yes. Oh yeah. I felt so good after because sometimes, you think of these things in your head all the time. But when you say something out loud, it really makes it real. It makes it a reality. So for instance, when we talked about alcohol, I was not happy with what I said out loud because it made it real for me.
Right.
It made me feel almost like motivation to like, okay, I need to stop.
I can't believe it's almost like outer body experience.
Yes.
Like like I do those things. I drink that much in one session. It's healing. And we were real clear in the episode, like that you're on a healing journey. You're by no means out of the woods, but that brings us to I want to kind of tap even further into your history to show how far you have come. Because although you're still kind of working through your issues with alcohol, your relationship with alcohol as a vice, things were bad before. things were bad. And I don't
Bad is an
even know
understatement.
a lot about it, but I'm going to learn today. But so because like I've said before, and we talked about it on Patreon, but you lived with my parents, your parents who adopted you, your grandparents, biological. It was like the house of secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of things that were transpiring I wasn't aware of. But let's dive into your addiction with pills. And when did that start?
Oh, well, it's, how old was I? I was like 20. And I got introduced to Oxycontin. And I did it once. It literally, like you see these commercials only one time. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's true.
So tell me, I want to know a little more. How did you get introduced? Like, do you remember the exact situation and how that happened?
So my boyfriend at the time, obviously now an ex, used to do pills himself, stopped for a while, and then we got together, and then he had a death in the family, and then super depressed, so, hey, let's do some Oxycontin. Literally bought a couple pills, and what it did for me personally is nothing else mattered. My life, anything bad in my life. No problems. I was in a euphoric, state of mind where I'm good. I'm happy right now. Nothing else matters in my life. I'm good.
Yeah, only when you're on the high, but then when
it
off,
goes away,
yeah,
it's like your problems are worse, like 10 times worse. And not only that, but when the high goes away, your body, even after one time, your body's like, I need more. Your brain, your dopamine is, I don't want to think about the bad shit anymore. I want to think about, euphoric, happy in the clouds.
Yeah. So take me back to that time then. Okay, so you started, what was the volume like? You took one or two, and then how did that progress?
Oh, it progressed really, really, really fast. After the first time, we only had like 2 pills, 1 each. Mm-hmm. And then we bought more the next day.
How?
We had some connections.
You had some connections. And we're going to dive deeper into those connections on the Patreon show. So you purchased them was it in person, like a literal, like,
how
purchase?
You see in the movies, you go in the car and it's all, that's like that.
And then you get the drugs and you take the drugs. Did you take them just by taking them with water, or did you begin to progress into like smoking it, crushing it?
My favorite way was smoking pills, but it wasn't Oxycontin that I was smoking. It was Roxycontin. It's a little bit different.
What's a Roxycontin?
It's a form of Oxycontin, obviously, but it's not. I don't know what the difference is. It's a different looking pill. But, because Oxycontin, they were catching on to people who were abusing it real bad by smoking it and crushing it up. So it got to a point where they had a film on the pill. We had to microwave the film off in order to even, and then it got to a point where it was gel. Like when you crush a pill, it wasn't powder, it was gel.
Oh, they were doing different things to try to prevent the misuse.
The misuse of,
yeah. So
you'd still abuse it, but yeah. So,
that's probably like right around the time like the true like oxy epidemic kind of was happening.
And it was literally like right at the start of where they were catching on.
Yeah.
And then it was getting harder and harder to even get a hold.
Yeah. Because doctors even stopped prescribing it to people who actually needed it. They switched and they stopped prescribing because the FDA cracked down, and they would do audits if they saw doctors like prescribing certain amounts. So it became harder. So were you guys ever, because a lot of people graduate from oxys to like heroin and things like that. Did you guys ever delve into anything beyond the pills?
Nope. No. And I thank God for that, because I would probably be dead right now.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Because I refused to go to that level. I was offered it, and I always said no.
how often were you taking
Every day.
pills? It got to a point where you were
Every
taking every
single
day. You know what? I never had any idea, but you were extremely, extremely thin at the time.
Oh, well, okay. I was also doing stimulants
Like what?
because so stimulants don't affect me, like the normal
Because
person
you have
because I have
ADHD.
ADHD. But what I used stimulants for was if I took too many downers, I would use the stimulants to pretty much jumpstart
Yeah, I knew someone who did that.
to avoid an overdose, which I almost did multiple times.
I knew someone who did that. She would kind of bounce between Percocets and Adderalls.
I did cocaine.
You really? I didn't know you did cocaine.
yeah.
Did you put it up? You snorted it?
Shoveled. Yeah. Yeah. All the time.
Wow, this is news to me. Now, did mom find out about this addiction?
No, but I think she knew. Because I was heavily abusing Xanax at one point.
Yeah.
And
How did you get the Xanax? It was
it was
prescription?
prescribed. Of course,
Yeah. It was prescribed for your
at
anxiety?
that time, Xanax was given out like it was candy.
Yeah. I mean, people talked about it openly.
My therapist prescribed me 100 pills of Xanax at a time, and I was taking
Yeah.
12, 13 of them every time.
You would take 12 or 13 Xanax like a day? Mm-hmm. I do recall you being zombie-ish.
And irritable.
Yeah.
Because when you abuse something like that, you're not like Xanax, any benzo, you abuse it, it makes you irritable. Like
Yeah.
it makes you angry.
Well, I know because Mike had the Xanax addiction. And do you remember that we all went out to dinner on a Friday night? You were there, Tyler and Alyssa were there, and Mike kept asking you questions because
Yes.
you had shared with us that you had a pill addiction, and he was very intrigued by it. He kept asking you,
Yeah.
like, how did you get out of that? How did you know you were addicted
And that was right before.
the night before?
Yep.
Literally like 12 hours later, he disappeared and took a bottle of Xanax.
Yeah, because even I was like, wow, you're asking me a lot. I know it's interesting.
Yeah,
But
he was like real. I remember I have a picture actually of you and I that night. That
oh,
you
I
and
was
I
in
took.
a blue dress.
Yes, and I'm wearing like a white pants.
Yeah. It wasn't it for my birthday? I can't remember if it was.
It was for your
or something.
birthday. It was because it was in August.
Yeah. And you know what? Thinking about that now, maybe Mike felt like he was trapped.
It was kind of a cry for help. It's almost like he wanted to share that he had a Xanax addiction, but he couldn't get himself to say it.
Yeah,
Because that's what it was. So he was addicted to Xanax and he was struggling. He was just so disgusted with himself for that. But leading up to that, irritability, erratic, just mood changes, all of that. But
I mean, Tyler can attest. Tyler would walk up to my room at the time, at the top. I would just be. He would know when I was.
yeah.
Because I would just be. What do you want? What's going on?
So it was a daily occurrence back then. Were you working at the time? Did you have a job?
No. No. So it's funny because I was actually, I don't know if you remember, but I went to school for medical assisting.
Yes.
So when I was in school for medical assisting, I was very heavily I was taking fentanyl.
Fentanyl?
Fentanyl patches that cancer patients used to
Where
get.
did you get all of this
From a
stuff?
cancer patient.
Oh my gosh.
Sold us the patches.
Yeah.
They were like $300 a pop.
You were doing that when you were in the medical school?
Yeah, I would fall asleep. I would have a piece of a patch in my mouth getting high while I'm doing, and I got a 4.0 GPA, by the way. Passed it with flying colors.
But you had no job because you were in school.
Because I was in school.
How did you get money to buy the drugs?
My boyfriend at the time, we sold his car, and we used all of that money in a span, I think it was like $10,000 in a span of a month.
On the drugs. And you guys were living there just getting
as a kite.
high, and Vol and mom didn't know?
No.
Nope. God, how in the earth? So what? Tell me how. Did you hit rock bottom with the pills at any point in time?
What is rock bottom, right? Like,
I
what
mean,
do you think rock bottom is?
Well, I don't know. Like, for example, I feel like you haven't hit rock bottom with the alcohol. That's why you still drink. That's what I think.
Okay.
But a rock bottom to me, I define rock bottom as like this turning point where you...
Oh. Okay.
Like there's a pivotal moment,
'Cause obviously
something
I'm
that
not doing it
happens.
anymore.
Right. Like a near death experience or just almost like a wake up call. Like I'm going to die if I don't do something. That is like a rock bottom moment.
It took a while for me to get to that point because, yes, I stopped the smoking of the pills. I woke up one day and I said, no more fentanyl.
But why?
Nothing.
Like what change? What was your thought process around why you stopped? I know, and I'm digging here because there's people who are probably watching this who are, maybe they're dabbling with pills right now or whatever, and they think that, oh, I got this, I enjoy it, it's a nice high every once in a while, but I'm in control. When did you realize you were not in control?
So it feels good. Like people think like, oh my God, you're getting high to feel good. No, there comes a point where you're getting high so you don't feel sick.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Because the first time was amazing. I felt so good. And then it gets to a point where you're chasing something.
So you're almost
chasing
like
that high.
You're chasing that original high, but you never really get there. That's why people overdose, because they take more and more and more to chase the high.
And multiple times, I had obviously horrible friends at that time. And we were all, we took a gel from a fentanyl patch and put it on our gums. Very dangerous. And I remember
oh my God,
sitting on the couch, and when you're overdosing, your breathing kind of goes shallow. And then you're like, it's bad. And then my friend, who has now passed away, by the way, because of drugs, grabbed, because we also had cocaine, grabbed the Slurpee straws, grabbed the Slurpee straw and shoved it up my nose
to bring you back to life,
jumpstart me back to life, because I was like drooling. My eyes were rolling in the back of my head.
Where did this take place?
At someone's house, a friend's house. Yeah, I was on the couch like this.
Oh my God, I'm mortified.
And I was unresponsive.
I'm mortified.
Well, that's not that. I mean, that happened multiple times. I mean, that was 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I'm surprised I'm alive, to be honest.
Yeah. So why did you stop? Like, what happened?
I was sick and tired of
feeling like that.
I mean, it's not. Not a lot of people have the luxury to get that realization.
Yeah. No, they don't. And sadly, they don't make it. It happens daily. So this is what I remember where the line of questioning was. The funny, because I'm drilling you here, but this is what I remember Mike was asking you. He kept saying, but how did you stop? Remember, I was like, why? I remember looking at him going like, why are you asking her this? This is her birthday dinner. But why did you stop? Like, do you remember? And how? How did you stop? I think that's what he was asking. Like, how did you stop?
If I'm going to be completely honest, it got really hard to get those drugs. And I refused to go to heroin, all those street.
Because you felt that was like real drugs.
That's like
bad drugs.
No. Yeah. I refuse. I don't know why.
It's almost like you had...
I thought about my mom, my real mom.
Yeah, because she does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, nope. Because guess what? Maybe that's one thing Vol did for me, is drill in my head that I'm going to be a loser.
Yeah.
Because of that. And I refused to go to that level because I didn't want to be that.
Yeah. But some people do the opposite. They'll like, self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing. But it's not easy to kick a pill habit because you get you're chemically dependent. It can actually even be medically dangerous to just stop. So what happened when you withdrew?
I tried to wean as much as possible, but eventually there was nothing else I can do.
You just
I had to go
be sick.
Yes. And the only thing I did not stop, which I think saved me, a little bit because doing cold turkey from painkillers like that
Yeah.
and fentanyl,
It's dangerous,
I could
actually.
have died.
Yeah, with that you need methadone usually or some sort of a medication to help.
I should have been in inpatient rehabilitation, to be honest, but I didn't stop Xanax for a while.
Yeah. If you stop Xanax cold turkey, it can cause like massive seizures and things like that. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get off of Xanax. That was a huge demon for me, Xanax, after stopping.
Now, when you went through like the trauma of losing mom and all of that, did you feel a desire to turn towards pills?
Yeah. And my only saving grace is it's like impossible to get
access. See, and this is why people, come down on people, drug dealers and people who are, because there will be people who say like, oh, but it's not their fault that there's users out there, but the drug dealers create addicts. I know Mike has a lot of guilt because he was, what did he get in trouble for? What was it that I can't remember what it was that he was meth, I think. I think it was meth or something like that he got in trouble for, went to prison for basically. And he has a lot of guilt about that because it was a very bad drug and it was killing a lot of, minorities and his people is what he says, so he has a lot of guilt, over that because access and look, because it's like people say what they want about like the government or whatever, but they did eventually crack down and that's what helped you clean you up because you didn't have access to the drugs.
Yep.
Because it's not even easy to get a prescription.
I mean, I used to be able to get my hands on liquid hydrocodone.
Wow.
Liquid hydrocodone in a little dropper. And fentanyl patches, like not the street fentanyl that people are
ODing on, right?
No,
like the ones.
This is patches that cancer patients, terminal cancer patients, put on their skin that I cut up and I just put in my gums, it was candy. And I used to get my hands on all of those things. And when I couldn't get my hands on the pure stuff, I would get my hands on like Vicodin, and I would take 6 pills of Vicodin. I'm surprised my kidneys and liver.
You know what's so scary is that pills kind of came out of nowhere, right? So parents were worried about their kids literally like smoking marijuana and doing, cocaine and things like that. But yet their kids were sneaking pills out of their parents' medicine cabinets, old prescriptions that are just sitting in there. And they never were the wiser for it. They never knew, never cared. I'm sure some parents even gave their kids like, oh, you fell and scraped your knee. This is a little pain pill because they didn't know, right? It's crazy how a lot of times I know a lot of these kids and teenagers and stuff, they were getting their pills from their parents' medicine cabinets.
Well, I mean, excuse me, not even that. I'll probably say something that you don't know. Once again, is when I was younger, like 15, 16, 17, I would do Thizz pills.
What are those? Thizz pills?
Thizz pills.
What is that?
I'm sure some of the audience would know.
What is it?
Do you know Mac Dre?
Mac Dre, the rapper? Okay.
So when I was, in high school, like it was hyphy movement, everybody was popping Thizz pills. And pretty much what that is a pressed pill of God knows what. Sometimes meth, sometimes
you just don't even know what it is?
You don't know. It's a pressed pill of, you buy like a certain, like they have weird names.
Oh, aren't those like, isn't that ecstasy? No?
I used to do that too. But no, this is different. You don't know what you're going to get. Like you get a certain like.
Oh my God.
So like one time I was like, yeah, I'll take that kind. It had acid in it and I tripped balls for like 12 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So fun. It was a fun time. Fine.
You know what's interesting is what really kicked off Mike's addiction to Xanax was a prescription. He was kind of getting really high anxiety because he figured out that he had high blood pressure. And so he went to the doctor and the doctor just prescribed him Xanax because I'm anxious. Okay, here's Xanax. And that's what like kicked it off.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because, well, now doctors are directing new patients to benzos a different way. But before they say, oh yeah, just when you feel anxious, just take this. You're only supposed to take a Xanax if you're having a panic attack.
An actual panic attack.
Actual panic attack.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand, and doctors didn't understand what a panic attack was.
I mean, people misuse Xanax left and right. I know many people personally who misuse Xanax. They use it as a crutch in anticipation of a panic attack. It is not for preventing a panic attack. It's for dealing with a panic attack that you have. And you develop a dependency on it, and you use it as a crutch. And as a result, you don't utilize coping mechanisms and coping skills. And I know because I did that. I was I never was addicted. Like I don't know if I'm naive in saying that, but I never had a problem. Like, no, I'm just, because for me, if I didn't have access or if I didn't have the pills, I would just avoid situations where I would have the panic attack.
Right.
Because I would have actual panic attacks.
But when you had it, it was just a habit. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anxious. Oh, I'm going to go to a social event.
Or instead of like trying to figure out how to get through it, like I would literally get panic attacks. I had several panic attacks in the middle of eyelash extension appointments. So it was so traumatizing that I started to just take a Xanax right before each appointment. So again, see how I'm abusing it. That's abuse because I'm taking it in anticipation of a panic attack instead of, okay, listen, I know I tend to get panic attacks during this. So let me go through some breathing exercises. You could like hold a squishy ball and do different tactics to avoid it. And I didn't practice that. And so it got worse and worse. So now to this day, I would not be able to have an eyelash. I would never be able to lie down and get eyelash extensions. And I noticed that I kind of have the same feelings when like I went to get my brows microbladed. The light flicked on and it took me right back to, but those are the type, and what I'm saying this is to point out that if I had Xanax, like I always used to have Xanax, I would just take a pill before a tattoo appointment, and before you know it, you're literally just full on abusing it. And that's when it couldn't become a problem. So you have to be really careful. Even if you think you don't have a problem, even if you think that you're using it for the right reasons, it's legal, it's prescribed, you still have to think to yourself, do I really need this? And can I do the work to try to work through this without the crutch of the pill?
Yep. Yeah. And it's very difficult because, you are not, back in the day when I got prescribed Xanax, they don't teach you coping mechanisms.
No.
At all.
No.
So when I got off of it, I suffered for a long time because how do I deal with this panic? Like, how do I deal with this anxiety? Like, I feel like I'm going to keel over and die at some point because it's so bad.
It's so bad. And I think that's the thing. If you've never had a true panic attack, it'd be really hard to understand. But once you have had a true panic attack, you feel like you're dying. You literally feel like you're dying. You never want to have that again, ever. And so you will stop at nothing at preventing that. And so that's why people get into predicament where they become dependent, addicted.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole other thing, like with you, for using it for pleasure and for the high. I did get to a point there was a time when I started to use it for pleasure a little bit. It was a short period of time, but it was not good. It was not a good practice. And so, we had to stop. We had to stop doing that. I would take one and have a couple cocktails. I like the way I felt.
Oh, that is the best feeling.
I never did more than that, though. It's not like I took 2 or 3 or progressed. I would have one and have a couple cocktails. And I'd come home and be a complete and total zombie for like the entire day. What a waste of life. And I did feel like a loser. It was interesting because I don't. If you haven't watched it, I actually recommend it. It's really dark, but there's a show called Baby Reindeer on Netflix. There's a limited series. It's really dark, but there was a scene in the episode I was watching yesterday where it reminds me. You should watch it because it reminds me of kind of like what we're talking about now, how you were at your friend's house. It's like a drug house. Everyone's high. Nobody's really conversing because they're so high in their own world. And I was watching this episode and I was just disgusted by it. Like, that is such a dark, sad life. Mm-hmm. But so many people are in the claws and the clutches of that life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You are so fortunate that randomly you kind of got out of it.
Yeah.
Something
I just
somehow
had no access. That's pretty much ultimately what it is.
Yeah. And did you feel better once you went through the suck of the withdrawals?
No, because I had to deal with my reality.
Then you really had to deal with like the mental health stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I've done some, I don't know if you know this, but I've jumped off the balcony at the house like twice. Thinking that it was going to do something. I just sprained my ankle.
Is that why you sprained your ankle when you had the cast?
No, that was different. No, when I broke my foot.
Oh, that was the car accident.
No, I was drunk and I was high off of cocaine, and I was so like depleted of any nutrients that I was running and my bone just.
Okay, but why did you jump off the balcony of the 2-story house? But that's,
one of the times I drank 3 40s and I was like, I'm just going to jump. And I just jumped.
Did mom find out about that? Did you get hurt?
Yeah. And I got up and sprained my ankle and I walked it off. I mean,
you have been through some dark times. You're very lucky to be sitting here sharing these stories.
Yes. I tell myself almost every day, how am I alive?
How do you feel like you're doing now in dealing with your real feelings and not numbing things and not turning to pills? Like, how are you doing now?
It's not easy. I'm obviously doing a lot better, but it's definitely one of those things where I'm always going to be battling something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly learning. I still don't really know coping. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm to a point right now where I shut down.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's so bad, and I'll explode at some point. Mm-hmm. But compared to before, yeah, I'm better, but
it's a like a lifelong battle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But would you say you're doing the best you've done? Like, because I feel like every time I see you, you look a little better to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm definitely,
I mean, even the fact that you're sitting here right now talking about it is an indicator of that you're on the right path, that you're doing better, because you can talk about it.
Yeah, and that's my whole thing is, even, because I manage a team, I even tell my team, I say mental health matters.
Yeah.
Like, please care about your health before anything, physical and mental, because if you are not mentally okay, good luck with going through life.
I really, truly believe that just by talking about it and you're talking about it, it's part of letting it go. It's like leaving your body, like the trauma, and it helps to heal. Like, even you sitting here sharing it, I'm sure you haven't said a lot of those things out loud either, ever, or in many years. But just by saying it out loud, it's a healing.
Yes. I was ashamed of all that I've done for so long, but looking at yourself and saying, yeah, I did those things, but look where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Because I was jobless, drug addiction. I almost started stealing to get money. Like, it, I was at a low point. The family didn't like me because I was a horrible person to be around.
I never disliked you, but I didn't know a lot what was going on. I don't know what I was, probably in my party phase or something. Yes, that's when I was. I was in my just divorced kind of like new life party phase. I was kind of disconnected from the family at that time.
Yes.
Because my parents, I was kind of a little disconnected, doing my own thing, like living my best life. So at that same time, because I do remember those years, and that's when you were super, super skinny and all of that. So like, I kind of missed it.
One of the times, you remember I used to take care of like Tyler and Alyssa.
Yeah.
One of the times the night before, I was up all night and I went straight to your house from a night of binge. Oh my God.
My children. That is so crazy. Yeah. But you know what? But look how far you've come now. You know what I mean?
That's bad. I feel bad saying it, but
I know.
Guess what happened?
I literally had no idea. But anyways, that's an evil laugh. That's so evil.
It's so bad. But hey, look, it happened, and I can't change it.
So because when I think about that time, I was paying you to help me because I was freshly divorced. I had the kids, and I was working full time at Netflix at the time. I was paying you to help me. So what you're telling me right now is that I was supplying money for your drug addiction, that I had no idea. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is absolute insanity. I'm like shocked right now.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Why are you laughing?
Because it's
a nervous laugh.
It's actually kind of scary.
It is scary.
I hid it very well.
You did.
The only tell sign was my weight.
I didn't know until Tyler told me maybe a couple years ago. Like years after. Like Tyler's like, yeah, you didn't know like Michelle had a pill addiction. I'm like, what? I had no idea. It was right around the time we found out, right around the time that Mike was asking you all the questions. And that's why I was so intrigued as to why he was so interested in that. But it's crazy. But that being said, I mean, you've come a long way. You support your dad, who lives with you full time. You just bought a beautiful new car that we drove over here. You have a great job. You have, a good head on your shoulders. You're responsible. You live on your own. You have a beautiful home. I mean, it just goes to show you can go through the freaking mud and come out.
You have to be very resilient.
Yeah.
And, I'm blessed to have that mind where I was strong enough to kind of get through the mud, right? But I'll tell you right now, I am shocked of myself of breathing right now.
Yeah.
Because I've wanted to.
One thing that's important that I want to say is that just because you almost you can't have false confidence though, or false sense of security. It is something that you have to be careful because it could happen again.
Yeah.
And so you have to be that much more mindful of who you surround yourself with, the things that you do, the things that you take, all of that stuff. You have to be really mindful so that you stay on the right path.
Yeah. For sure. Like I tell my doctor, if I get hurt or whatever, I tell my doctors, no pain meds, nothing. I want extra strength Tylenol. Give that to me. I don't want, because if you put that in front of me, I'm gone. Done deal. I'm always an addict. I will always be an addict.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that if you are an addict, same with Mike, I have to be so careful on what he kind of does and turns to, because I can see that anything becomes an addiction for him. And I mean, like we talked about that on the last episode. How have things changed? Are you still impulse shopping, or have you kind of gotten a hold of that a little bit?
No, buying my car actually saved me, because now I'm like, I can't spend any money.
So you're fixating on saving again. So it's not that and this is also a good lesson for these types of personalities, because Mike's the same way. It's not that you will stop your compulsions or impulsive tendencies or addictions. But if you're careful and you're mindful, you can
suppress them.
You can put them towards things that are not going to be harmful. So hyperfixate on savings. That's why I always joke with you, hyperfixate on some exercise, hyperfixate on getting a daily step goal.
Still hasn't happened.
No. How has give us an update on your weight loss journey?
I'm at a plateau with my weight. Mike, my boyfriend, he's not super strict on his diet, but I'm still on track.
Yeah. You're still, it kind of like reset your food, like going crazy with the food and all of that. And you've kind of, do you think you found a good balance?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
for sure.
So like you were out here on business for the week. You didn't go balls to the wall every day kind of thing?
Nope.
You managed?
Normal
good.
eating.
Yeah. And it's funny because that may be no big deal to some people, but when you have had the things that you've dealt with, the things I've dealt with as well, where you had those crazy manic food episodes or, getting the extra food so that you can eat on the way home before you eat your real food, all that good stuff. It's hard to eradicate those types of tendencies, but it's nice to know that that's still a consistent for you.
Still good.
How about alcohol? Where we stand with the alcohol?
Still an enemy at the moment.
Have you had, since our last episode, the 30 beer binge nights? Have you had any of those?
Not 30 beers.
Okay, what was
But
how many?
many beers.
Many beers?
Yeah.
In one night?
Well, to you, it's going to be a lot.
Okay.
Or to a lot of people, it's going to be a lot. But
Yeah.
I had 3 tall cans
Uh-huh.
and 7 Modelo's.
Oh my gosh. But it's better than the
It's better
30
than-
pack.
36.
But when was this?
Oh,
So this was
Mother's
after?
Day.
Oh,
Around
okay. Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Because you were having a moment. See, that's a problem because you turned to beer for an emotional day. So that's something that you're going to have to, you're a work in progress. You are a work in progress. We're going to have to keep tabs on that whole thing. But one day at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I actually, funny enough, is I told myself, and I also told Mike to keep me accountable. After this week, when I go home, because I know damn well I'm not going to be able to not drink while I'm out here for, when I'm
Yeah.
out with coworkers and stuff. But after this week, I'm going to stop.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna attempt. Don't
Well,
if I
you guys
relapse,
are hearing
okay,
it.
but
You guys are hearing it here. You are going to attempt when you get home to kind of like put an end. Well, you're going to have to keep us updated because that I'm happy to hear. But I am going to check in on that. And we are going to check in on Candidly with Coffee because we would like that to happen as well. I think that would be wonderful if you can get to the point where you're completely sober. I think it's going to have a huge impact on your life. But that being said, I'm happy that with the progress that you've made because you've come a long way since, the things that you were doing, being in the drug house and the ODs and all of that fun stuff. So you've come a long way. Do you have any bit of advice that you could give to somebody who maybe is in a situation where they are having an addiction with drugs or alcohol, or like how do they even take that first step to?
it's kind of hard to give advice for something like that because it depends on your mindset. But I do have, a little bit of motivation to say is you can get out of it. You're not stuck.
Yeah.
You feel like you're stuck. You feel like if you don't get the high, oh my God, you're going to die. No, you're not stuck. You can get out of it. It's suffering for maybe a month, but
Yeah. You just got to get through
you
it.
can do it. You are not done deal. You
Yeah.
can do it. It's hard, but you can do it. You're not screwed.
There you go. There's your motivational words from Michelle, life of a recovered pill addict. And that's it, guys. We're gonna keep tabs on Michelle. We're gonna have you back and give us an update on your sober living. I'm excited because one day I'm gonna have you here and you're gonna start spouting off how many days sober you are. because as soon as you cut out alcohol, then you can start counting your days of sobriety. And that'll be a great way to celebrate, to have you back on.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Candidly with Coffee, and I'll see you on the next one.